I know us designers, I'm assuming most of us here are designers or rather mostly creatives. We can have that habit of always bookmarking and storing something to learn later. We never really, learn it. We'll also talk about organizing and managing resources, maximizing your energy levels, which is actually very important. And I will be sharing time-saving tips and hacks for you in your workflow and work processes. And also going to talk about distractions, how to manage distractions, how to overcome obstacles, collaborating, rest, recovery, self-care, successes, and the likes. So if this, if my workshop we're going to be learning sounds interesting, you can give an emoji reaction. Let me know, your reaction. Yeah, thank you, David. So with that said, let's dive right into it. So first off, yeah, what is actually like resource management for productivity? And basically, we're going to be, like I said over and over, we're going to be discussing, how to manage resources, how to maximize your productivity. And this session and conversation is going to be, really targeting you if you are a student, whether you're a student and a designer, or you're, full-time professional creative, or you're just someone looking to improve your routine and workflow. I feel like I'll try my best to make it really cover all grounds, so you don't feel left out. We'll also cover things from time management, managing your energy levels, collaboration, self-care, which is very, very important and I'm big on. So with all that, let's get started. Now, when it comes to resources and productivity, one of the first thing that comes to me is knowing what resource you need, knowing what you need per time. And we don't want to find ourselves in that rabbit hole where we are just gathering resources and we don't really know what we need or don't even know why we need what we need. And this means taking account, factors such as what are the constraints you might have, what is your current situation or state of being at that point, what's your current skill level, because in knowing the resource you need to understand these constraints, you need to understand these factors. You just want to just jump into it. For example, let's say you want to learn about interaction design, yeah, you would want to first identify the reason why you want to learn it and or what's your aim or objective, like what is the end goal at the end of the day. You don't just want to find yourself where you are picking up a skill because it's a trend, or you're picking up a skill because everybody's doing it, or you're picking up trying to learn something because somebody says it's cool. 9 out of 10 times you will not see it through because you originally do not even have that mindset to do it in the first place. So doing it just because someone else is doing it is not good enough reason, you get. And you want to really take your time precious. So identifying your reasoning and why before you do it is a very first key strong thing in knowing what you need per time. And by identifying these resources that you need, you'd also avoid wasting your time and energy, in looking for the resources that you need at the end of the day. And you also, get very little distraction or going astray from what you need. You get, take for example, I feel like this happened to me not too long ago. I thought I wanted to learn a particular skill, not knowing that it was because everybody was doing it or because someone else did it and it was cool, which was icon design actually. So I felt it was cool, but initially it wasn't really part of the things that I know I really want to do. By the time I sat down to ask myself, what's my reason to want to learn? It was my aim, and I couldn't really come with anything tangible. I knew it was a waste of my time, so I had to like shift my focus into what actually is useful for me. So by creating a checklist or a workflow of the skills you want to either own, acquire, or get, or creating also a checklist of things you want to focus your productivity in. It might not be a resource material, it could be even just tasks you have for the week or the day. Yeah, but making this checklist, this will help you really visualize the steps you need to take to complete these tasks, what process you need to do, what time you need to allocate to these things, so you can focus, maintain your and streamline like your workflow to increase efficiency, because that's like literally how these things work. Now, from that, now you want to identify your most valuable resource. Since we've put together our why. Why are we learning this? What is our aim? What is the purpose of us learning this? Is it even part of my direction for my skill set of the career that I have? That is why knowing what you are doing, clarity is very big. So knowing what you're doing is very, very important. So by identifying that, you can now move into identifying the most valuable resource. Now, what does this mean? As we know, time is actually very valuable, but at the same time, it's kind of the most common thing we tend to waste. And we all have 24 hours in a day. Nobody has more than that. So you want to really make sure that you make a difference in your productivity levels, and to prioritize your time efficiently to the resources you've deemed valuable. You want to start by, identifying what are the most important things, what are the most important tasks, what are the most important materials. You want to focus on those first. You want to ask yourself, what are the things that I can do right now, or only I can do? What are the things that I can really dedicate myself in completing right now? You want to identify that. Another thing I learned from a friend and a brother, Collins, is I tend to do my most important things within the first 4 hours of my working time. So not the first 4 hours of my day, I would address that, but the first 4 hours of my working time, I tend to address what are the most important thing that I have set. So that first 4 hours, if it is taking that course, if it is reading that book, or doing what's not, or attending to that task that has a particular deadline, I do it within that 4 hours window. Now, the good thing about that is by the time I'm done, I have the rest time in my day. I can now put it into low priority tasks. So in identifying your most valuable resource, is pretty much just saying prioritization. You want to prioritize what are the most important learning materials you need, what are the most important tasks you need to do or actions you need to take. So you need to always tie down everything you're doing to action steps and action point that you can do within time periods. And once you've done that within like your first 4 hours, your first 5 hours, your remaining 4 or 5 hours working hours that you have, you could do it to other little tasks that you can handle for the day, and push whatever is spilled over to the next day. Now, in addition to this, you also want to consider the urgency of that task. You get, sometimes it might not be a very high priority task to you, but it might be urgent because you need to deliver it, or it might be urgent because you need to learn this particular skill for a particular work you're doing, which sometimes could be a really good motivation. And it's fine if your aim to learn a particular skill is because, oh, you need it to do it, you need to do it at work, or work requires you to do it, or this particular client requires you to do something like this, or this new gig requires you to learn this skill. It could be a really good motivation. A lot of the skills I learned, I tied it to kind of like an actual task flow. You get, so on attaching urgency to resources you want to learn, materials you want to acquire, or skills you want to own, is also a really good way to help you prioritize it, effectively. Now, we're going to now talk about rather organizing and managing yourself with these materials and resources, and staying productive. Now, keeping track of your resources and managing them is a very underrated skill. And most of these things, you most likely hear them. And one of the ways I tend to do this is by documenting. Now, when I say documenting, it's really nothing too, ambiguous. It's nothing too serious. I just simply have two ways. So I either document on Notion. I have a separate Notion tab or page where, for every resource I consider valuable, for every resource I consider valuable, I put it in there. And if it's something I want to start learning, I put it under like, things I need to start learning, and I keep it there. I also have a group chat. So Miriam is saying she cannot hear me. Can anybody hear me? Am I not audible enough before I go on?
You're very audible. I think, Miriam, it's your network.
Okay, thank you. And please, if anybody cannot hear me, or if you can't hear me, John, just let me know. Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on. I think I lost track of what I was saying. Okay, I remember. The second thing I usually do is I use my WhatsApp sometimes to manage myself and organize my resources. It's a weird thing, but I do it a lot. I usually will create a WhatsApp group chat and call it. I have it. I call it learning streaks. This learning streak is where resources that I find interesting, or I'm actually learning, or I just read about or studied on, I put it in there. Now the reason is because sometimes you might want to reference it whenever you need it, or somebody might be in a position where they want to learn that and you just learned it, or you've gone through that. I just go back to my learning streak and reference it or use it. So whatever way you can use to have an organized way to put your learning resource, you want to do it. You could use methods like, color coding folders or color coding the titles or the things. You could use Trello, Trello board, and have the name, and have the name, title, whatever, maybe a link to the resource, book. It doesn't really matter, and you can start moving it from to do into doing into done. Really, whatever. Trailer is very. I feel like Trailer is like the easy way to do. If you cannot, be weird like me and use WhatsApp group chat or Notion, folders and the rest. Another tip to this, you want to regularly update this your resource inventory or folder. You can call it whatever you want to call it. And another cool thing about this is that over time I realized kind of bookmarking resources and interesting materials on from Twitter used to be stressful because I cannot organize on Twitter. My Twitter bookmarks, I can't organize it. So that's why I started doing this strategy that I just shared with you. And you could do the same thing. And this is why prioritization is very important. The moment you know what you want to improve on, what skill set you want to own, yeah, it's not very easy whenever you are scrolling through social media, which we all do, and we find one interesting, resource that talks about design or something, and it might just be, "Ooh, this is fancy. Let me bookmark it. I'll learn it," and we'll just keep bookmarking, and we never really go back to it. Now, one way to save yourself from this is it's fine to bookmark, no pressure. But when you look at that one resource that is tied to what you want to do, from you doing this point here, knowing what you need. For example, you've done knowing what you need. Whenever you're on social media, your brain automatically will be able to pinpoint, like it's just a normal thing. You know that process where you buy a new colored shirt and now you're not seeing almost everybody wearing that shirt because your brain is now calling to attention. That's because it is now in front of you. So same thing, you've done your why, your aim, your reason behind a particular skill set or list of skill sets you want to do, a checklist. Now, whenever you're on social media, that we always do, whenever you find something that is tied to the exact same thing, rather than bookmarking it, you can bookmark it, but at the same time, copy that link and move it to your Trello board or move it to your Notion document that you've created to keep inventory of resources you want to actually study. Or you move it to your WhatsApp group chat if you're weird like me, and call it learning streaks or what's not. And you can put a date when you want to learn it and you can set a reminder. All these are very, very intentional. You have to be actually very intentional with all this. Nobody did for you. And one thing I also do, another tip I do with this managing and organizing my resources, that for things that are short and simple, for example, if it's a tweet thread, if it's an article or a 5 minutes YouTube video, whatever the case might be, if it's something short, I make myself learn it over the weekend. So I know we have different workflows, different activities, we're busy at different time. Most of the times I'm not able to learn it that week, but I make sure that that week does not finish without me not learning every short material that I have added into my I don't use Trello, but you can use Trello into my Notion and my WhatsApp group chat. At the end of the week, I make sure I tick everything done. All articles that I've saved over the week, from the course of Monday to Friday, either on Friday night, on Saturday, afternoon or morning, I make sure I go through everything. If it's YouTube videos, I watch through them. You get the days I fail to do this, I involve it in my task flow for the week, the following week. And that task flow for the week, I would inform myself and tell myself that Gaga, I am not going to save anything new till I've moved all these things to done. And this is where you want to involve discipline into what you're doing. You don't want to get yourself in that rabbit hole of learning spiral where you think you're learning, but you're not actually learning because you're not actually studying, you're not actually consuming. You want to gather resources and you want to consume them. And by the time you consume them, you can now move into the next set of things to do. But yeah, so with that said, it's also help save you from wasting your time moving from one resource that doesn't really target what you want to the other and the likes. Then now let's talk about maximizing your energy levels, because with all this, you want to make sure that you are moving in the direction that you are most energetic or you have the most energy level to do what you need to do. And there are certain ways you want to go about this. Because first thing we need to know that without, sufficient energy. We understand how difficult it can be to really focus and complete tasks. We all know this, and if you don't, I feel like you should now, because your energy level is really tied to how well you can be productive. If you don't feel energized enough, if you do not sleep properly the night before, you would have a terrible day. You barely be able to do your tasks effectively. You get, and it's kind of like very important to your health. Mental health, physical health, are actually very important as well. But now with maximizing energies, now how can you actually maximize energies? So these are certain things that I do personally. Number one, I make sure I have good sleep, which is very important. Then another thing I also do is whenever I find myself learning, but before I go in that direction, you need to also know what form of learning works for you best. Is it audio type? Is it written? Is it watching? What way do you learn best? You want to understand this. For me, I learn best by, so think of it like what is your learning language? Just like how we have love language. What is your learning language? And my learning language is watching, doing, and then reading. I can interchange between reading and doing, but I first learn by watching, then I improve on what I've watched by doing, and by doing I can now really, you know, understand all the really technical, deep technicalities by reading. And that's how it works for me. For you, it could be the other way around. It could be you like reading and you don't really understand things from watching, and that's fine. Read, but in everything, in whatever your learning language is, you want to make sure that there is a part where you can do, which is practice, because you want to make your mind memory get accustomed to knowing how to do it on its own. You get, and doing it is a very perfect way. For example, I learned how to write case studies better by going on a case study, what do you call it, challenge, by set by myself. Writing a case study a week for the next 2 months, and for every case study I found out I was doing better. I didn't watch anything on case studies, I didn't read anything on case studies, I just started doing. As I was doing, I was learning from it, and after I was doing it for 2 months, and I started reading about how to actually even do it. So it all came together and made sense, and now it's a skill that I have and I've owned. And another interesting thing is, in the point of doing all that, there was nothing else I was doing. Like, I was that focused, there was nothing else I was doing. I was not learning, I was not doing two, three, four different things at the same time, or getting myself in four different challenges at the same time, which I notice we tend to do sometimes. You stretch yourself too thin doing that because you want to maximize your energy levels. So think of energy levels like Lego blocks. Yeah, if you're trying to build a, let's say, 3 feet Lego block, 3 feet Lego block. But if you spread that Lego blocks across three different sections, you will never be able to achieve your 3 feet height because you are spreading yourself too thin. If you focus all that Lego blocks into one, build setup, you'll be able to achieve even 3 feet and more. So that's how you want to think of energy levels. When you wake up in the morning and have your tasks things to do, what are the most important things you want to focus on? Those things. What are the most important things you want to learn? That's why I always move my learning to mostly weekend, because that is where I have more of my energy. If it's really short term, yes, I can do it during the week. If it is tied to work, I can do it during the week. So you want to identify all these levels. So with what I'm saying, I feel like what I'm saying a lot of times is I'm saying plan, 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 plan. So it's very, very important. And the plan can be as simple as making notes to yourself, attaching sticky notes around yourselves, having a checklist, like I said, of things you want to get yourself involved in. And now, with that said, let's talk about kind of how you can save time and what are like my time saving hacks. And with the idea of time saving, one key thing is that comes to mind is automation, or ways where you can do your things faster, which is why resources are very incredible. And but at the same time, there's some things you just have to do manually. You get, so you want to distinguish what are those mundane manual tasks that you have to do manually, and what are those manual mundane tasks that you can automate. Well, for me, I kind of do most of my tasks myself. If you have the resources enough, you can have an assistant, or look out. I don't use any particular tools, but I feel like there are tools that can help you do any mundane task. But you want to first identify what are your mundane tasks, by the way, you get, before you even know if you need to have something that assists you or somebody assist you. So you want to identify what are your mundane tasks that takes your time. And I will share a way I figured out my mundane tasks, which was by first I did this thing called journaling, which I really would suggest everybody does. And in journaling, what I did was for every day, I wrote to myself what were the things that kept me energized. So I wrote down things that kept me energized that day, or things that I did that, I had good level of energy. Then what are the things that reduced my energy or drained me, either physically or mentally, whatever the case might be, I wrote them down. And I also now put to myself, what are the things I did that kept me on focus mode? This would allow me really know what I really like doing or what I really enjoy doing. You get. And the other thing I now did was how was like my morning build up. You get. So that was like just a personal thing. But these three things is what you want to keep on: your energy level, what depleted your energy, what did you do that kept you focused. Oh, another thing you could also add is what are the things that you did that distracted you. So in doing all this, you would find a pattern. If you do this for like a month straight, looking back at looking back at the journal, you will find patterns that either took your time, or you find mundane tasks that you keep doing that you realize you spend a lot of annoying time doing. You would also find things that keeps you distracted, so you can know how to eliminate them, because these time saving tips and hacks will not make sense if you do not know what distracts you. And this energy, maximizing your energy level too, will have no effect if you do not also know what are the things that you do that distract you. Because if you reduce your distractions, you have more energy levels, you'll be able to save more time, and you'll be able to be more productive. And this will cut across through whether you're learning a material, or whether it's a course or you're reading or something. Because I have found myself reading an article or watching a YouTube video, and the next thing I'm on social media. How did I get it? I do not know. How I really don't know. It could be, oh, maybe they said something. Okay, let me check it up online. I'm supposed to be on Google, but how did I click on Instagram? You get, I can't tell. And sometimes I don't know if it has happened to anybody where you you're looking at, where all the apps on your phone are, but for some reason your thumb just clicked on the app that is not supposed to click. That is, I feel like whenever it happens in my mind, it's a kind of thing of muscle memory where you're so used to using a particular app or going to that direction that without your brain being aware, your muscle acted on it. And it maybe take me for like 15 minutes. I was like, wait, I'm not supposed to be on Instagram. And I was watching a YouTube video just now. I need to go back. So you also want to develop that idea of catching yourself when you see yourself drifting away. You get. So all this I'm saying is not set in stone, is not a miracle trick. You most times find yourself drifting away. You most of the time find yourself not doing things you're supposed to do, but you have to always catch yourself and bring yourself back. That's like what makes the whole thing make sense. But now, so with like how to like save your time boils down to actions that you actually do. One thing I do, yeah, is as I found my mundane tasks from those journaling I did for the next 30. I think I did for 2 months actually when I did it. I found tasks that drained me. I found tasks that were mundane. I also found tasks that kept me focused and I like doing. So I now knew I needed to do more of those, stay energized. I also figured out, things that kept me on a good energy level and the rest, and I was able to identify them. So now I know them. So you also need to know yours, what works for you. And I figured out that I'm a morning person and not a night person. Some of you guys are night crawlers, you know how to design 5 hours from 12 to 5. I can't do that. I work better in the day. So I know I need to sleep early, wake up early, and get my job done. You get, if not, my day is a mess. So know what works for you, so you can find things that fit within that region. You get, if you learn better in the day, do it in the day. If you learn better at night, do it at night. So you want to know what works for you. You also want to consider other factors you might have. You might be in school, you might be at home, parents might be, be factors. So you want to identify what are these factors. So from doing this, you will know. And you don't omit anything. If it was, you notice they're always on the phone call with a particular person, a particular time, and you guys talk for long hours, it's part of your distractions you get, because you notice, oh, okay, or it might not be a distraction, it might be an important thing. But what that means is you have to move your learning time to either before that call or after that call. So you are really focused and on time, or within that period of time. So you are focused within that time period you set. And with all these little simple things, you are saving yourself extra hours, extra time, so you can move on to more important things during the day. And yes, so with that said, eliminating distractions is kind of like the next thing you want to really look at. And I know I've briefly said something about that, but it comes down to it saving time when no make sense if distractions are still hovering around during your workflow. And I'm going to just give you a quick tip I use to eliminate my distractions, especially when I'm learning and when I'm working. It has to do with, I feel like me, big is social media, and I feel like 90% of social media too. Some people might be gaming. Mine is social media and anime. So I work on another tab, like another browser tab that does not have my anime on it, so I can really focus and I give myself time window. So different ways you could use to eliminate your distraction, but you want to first identify those distractions, and once you do, you can know how to eliminate them. But for me, things I do to help eliminate my distractions, since I've discovered mine, is one is that I keep my phone away from me, for a particular time period when I'm working. So I started my day with having this Pomodoro technique where I do 45 minutes walk sprint or 1 hour walk sprint, 2 hours walk sprint. I can go 3 hours straight. So depending on how your strength, your limit. So I can go 3 hours straight and my phone is away from me for literally 3 hours. It is in nowhere my sight. Other like weird place I can put it could be in like in the cupboard. I could probably put it on the floor facing down because sometimes it can be distracting seeing your notifications when your phone buzzes and the rest. Highest thing I will do is I will keep highest thing I will do is I will keep my phone on ring, so whenever somebody important calls me I can easily check it out. But you see messages and notification, you can always respond to it later. You want to really focus on that period of time. If you're learning or you're reading an article based on what you said for yourself for that day, for that week, keep it away from you so you don't go on social media. You can go on breaks. Yes, breaks could be for that 10-20 minutes, 30 minutes break. Do all the social media that you want, respond to all the messages that you want, then go back again. So that's how the Pomodoro technique works. Give yourself a focus time within 20 to 30 minutes. You can do an hour or more. Once it's done, you go on break, 30, 45 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, go back again, rinse and repeat. If you do that like 3 times during the day, you find out that you've covered a lot. If you do 3 hours, 3 times, that's 9 hours in the day. You literally cover a lot more than actually you think. Other ways to do would be responding to images. So I discovered that sometimes these notifications will bring itself into my web browser from email messages or Slack messages, and sometimes WhatsApp messages if you have WhatsApp web. Things I usually do to eliminate this is you might want to remove these notifications, but things like work emails or Slack, I know they're important, but the truth is it's fine to check it, but you want to identify, is this urgent for me to respond to immediately, or can I respond to once my sprint focus time is done? If it is a yes, I can wait, do it when you're done. If it is a no, I can't wait, do it immediately and get on to what you're doing. But you want to really identify the fact that these are your distractions and these are ways you can eliminate these distractions. And everything will have to do with discipline. You might not get it instantly, it's fine, but the most important is as long as you can keep going back to it, you can keep evolving, you can keep adapting, you can keep okay, I missed out today, I'll make sure tomorrow I do better, or oh, this week I didn't really follow everything fully, that's fine, next week try to do better. And that's like really what's most important. I mean, with all I'm saying, I'm on all I've said, yeah, there's no one day that or a whole week that I'm 100% accurate in doing everything. I still have my missed days, I still have the days where I'm not really consistent, I still have the days where distraction holds me on my neck. There's still days like that, but I make sure that the following week I try to do better or stay consistent, which is very, 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 very important. And now let's talk about overcoming obstacles, but more in the area of stress. And I know I have also brushed over the idea of obstacles because it's very, very similar to the idea of distractions. You get, but with obstacles, other things might come in that could be outside factors that may bring in stress to you. So I feel like that journaling is going to be a very big help, you get, because it allow you to identify things. But now something else came to mind as I'm talking about obstacles. It could be you have difficulty focusing by yourself. I know there's this same some of us here might have been a part of the IC does. IC this sprint thing he does where he creates a space where everybody can join in and work together and stay focused. You don't have to wait for him to do, because I know he has not done it in a while, but you don't have to wait for him to do it. You could do it among your peers. You could do it among your colleagues if you work remotely. You could decide to, leave the house and work in a workspace. Maybe that will help you stay focused and say, really, this thing. You might go to a coffee shop. Whatever you could do to help you stay focused, you want to do it. You could get amongst your peers, which is very important. And this is a community. So, to be very smart if you guys connect with each other. Create an avenue where, okay, once, twice in a week, we all would jump on a call and work together for the whole day. So we can, really push each other, ginger each other, that kind of a thing. And that's how it works. Again, I do it with my circle of friends, and you also could do it, sometimes. And there are different areas where you can, have these things come into play, and other factors too that you might want to really consider. So identifying place areas of stress too could also be a good thing, and things you want to do to combat those stress. I think I have something about that combating stress, but okay, I'll talk about it when talking about rest and recovery. But now let's talk about collaboration, which is very similar to what I said about coming together, creating an avenue where you can focus together, where you can learn together. You can also even have an avenue where you guys can share learning resources amongst yourself. You get maybe pair yourself with somebody who has a similar learning path as you, and you guys together, ginger each other together to like learn this thing, exchange materials or resources, crowd fund to get a course, crowd fund to buy a material that maybe you cannot afford by yourself. It's also a very smart idea. But this is also like a very simple way to start collaborating and understanding how to collaborate with other people. And with collaboration, you know how to own your strengths, and you can easily find areas that you're not really strong at, and you want to collaborate with somebody who can complement those areas for you. You get, and this could be in the form of challenges you guys set for you, maybe set for yourself to practice better. This could be in the form of working together on different projects, your individual project at work. This could be like setting together a challenge to for a learning material you want to do and establish, which is actually very, it to be fun, to be exciting. You also get to see how well you can push yourself so that you can not have that person. I feel like for me, I consider this like healthy competition in a way. You get where you are two, three people learning something at a time. You guys all study together, and the goal is to make sure that at the end of the day, all three of you are on the same level. If somebody is higher than you guys, you learn from that person so you can even get better. There's no shame in asking for help. There's no shame in learning from other people who started with you. You get, so that is where collaboration really comes to play. Another thing is I have not really seen. I feel like I see more design challenges by individual people. I have not seen design challenges in a collaboration setup where, let's say, a brand designer collaborates with a product designer for a 30 days design challenge or a 60-day design challenge, where the brand designers challenge is to come up with brand identities every day. The product designer comes up with interface design, whether it is web or mobile. Like, I've not seen that level of collaboration between two creative sets, or see the collaboration between a motion designer and, let's say, a product designer, where for every product they make, the motion designer makes motion UI or interaction UI with it. And the amazing thing about this is that you can also learn about that person's work by collaborating with them. You can understand how they do their work, know how to do better. We all have this developer designer back and forth and issues when you work in a company or a startup. You can get a idea of how to work with developers even before you get in that position, because you're collaborating with more developers than any other person. Another interesting thing about collaborations like this is that you have works that, even if are not real, they feel real because there was a brand designer involved, there was a product designer involved, there was a motion designer involved. It feels real. And if you want to even top it all up, there's a developer involved. It feels very real, yeah, when you're setting together a portfolio, and it might not be actual live project, but you can attach links for them to check out the websites, for them to check out the test mobile app, that kind of a thing. It feels like actual flex. And you get to learn how the developers work. You get to learn within yourself where there's no pressure, which is kind of like the best form of learning. You get to build your communication skill, and you see how they used to teach all these kind of things in courses. You get, so you by yourself have to find yourself spaces where you can plug these things into yourself, so that when you find yourself in a situation where you need to whoop out this skill set, it's not difficult for you. So please, collaboration is a big thing, and collaboration is beyond, working one person on the project. Collaboration involves with learning, involves tracking each other's growth, that kind of a thing. You can set up simple spaces for you where you guys can have conversation about your growth level, what you're learning, how you're learning, what you're learning, things like very simple things like that. But yeah, with that said, now let's talk about recovery and rest. With the idea of rest, I can't stress enough that it's very important for you to factor in rest. No, you do, because rest is actually a propelling factor to how well you can be creative. Well, I've discovered that for myself, so I can't say that for everybody, but I feel it's a big propelling factor. Rest, because it has to do with your mind. It has to do with your body being in sync. You want to make sure that it also helps you avoid what they call burnout, and reduces your stress level too as well. And there are different things you could probably try for resting, recovery, and the rest to help boost your productivity. And this could be from creating involving it in like your daily routines. By challenge, this could be as simple as giving yourself breaks. Like I said, those in Pomodoro technique can have breaks where you can do all the things you want to do. Some of your breaks could just be literally sleeping for a short period of time, for like 30 minutes, or what do you call it? Maybe 30 minutes or an hour. You could do that, especially if you work remotely. If you don't, you might want to do something where you can take a walk, or you have your headset on and just listen to like calming music that suits you. Or another form of resting could be praying. It could be that period of time you just spend time praying, talking to God, whatever the case might be. Yeah, whatever that you can do that helps you put yourself away from that work mode is a form of recovery or resting. Praying too is a form of recovery, and resting too as well. Because another thing that helps boost and pushes stress level for a lot of us is anxiety, which we don't really know where it comes from most of the times. But that anxiety pressure is a crazy stress level booster, and you want to combat it by doing things that keeps you at rest and at peace. For me, praying is a big factor. Most times I take that short time to pray, and just it also keeps me away from social media, because I take time to pray, and I'm with just praying. Once I'm done, I can probably sleep off. You get, or maybe respond to messages and the likes. And sometimes it could also be like taking a cool shower, just taking an extra shower too. Whatever the case might be, it might sound weird, it might sound doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody as long as it makes sense to you. You get. For me, I've learned how to sleep for like 30 minutes, because it allows boost my creativity. Even 5 minutes, I can do 5 minutes now. There's something called power nap, which is like 5-10 minutes sleep, where you sleep but not deep. So I set the timer for 30 minutes or 10 minutes, and I force myself to sleep. Even if I don't sleep, my brain is literally numb. That when I go back to work, it's like fresh eyes, fresh pace, I'm back at it again. But if you are not in a remote space, it might be difficult. You might rest your head on your table, plug in your headset. If you do this over time, colleagues will know that, oh, around this time, Jeanette does this, let her be. And you can also communicate, oh, around this time, I'll be doing this. Please, I would like no distraction. If you communicate properly, they will respect your decisions and what you have to do. But yes, so, those are kind of like the things about resting and recovery. And one of the very important things for me as creative is that it helps boost my own creative making decisions. Yeah, help me avoid burnout. It also allows me to do things that I might not really normally find time doing. It could be even reading a book. You get, reading a book every day for 10 minutes, 5 minutes is a very good practice. It might seem very short, but I kid you not, if you do it constantly, you'll be a short amount of the time that you finish an actual book. If you're waiting for perfectly we can finish the book, it might not happen. And fun fact about me is that I sometimes sleep off when reading. So it's also a good factor for me to sleep when I pick up a book. So yeah, so things like that really help you. And with journaling, you can understand things that are better for you for resting as well. You want to factor that into, which is actually very important. But yeah, so spilling into self-care, burnout prevention. I'll just go straight into kind of like sharing the essential idea, because I mean, I feel like self-care burnout is self-explanatory thing. We know what it is, we know how bad burnout is, and we know how important self-care is for your mental well-being, your physical well-being, and your emotional well-being. And things you could do to include, rather things you could do to involve self-care will be like exercising. I'm always big on it. You want to do some form of body movement. You cannot just wake up in the morning and just be slouched on your, I don't know, wherever you walk, your chair or what's not, and just sit down all day. It's a very unhealthy habit. And eating too, also very big thing on your self-care. You want to please take care of yourself and know what you eat. You don't want to eat anyhow or just eat junk food. And I would say it straight, avoid energy drinks. It does you no good. It just gives you this small burst of pump, but you don't want to do that in long term, because I keep saying, of what sense, like, of what good would it be that you spend a lot of your time, your energy, and resources building yourself, building your skill, getting to that point in your career, making that money that you want to make, and then you spend a lot of that treating your health because you did bad health habits during your early stages in your career. You don't want to be that person. You want to always be bubbling in your health, in bubbling in yourself. You want to be proud and love yourself the way you are. Exercising a good factor. So whether it is by doing something in like the first 30 minutes of the day, even maybe stretches and whatever the case might be, try find something physical activity to do. You don't have to go to the gym to actually do exercise, just so you know. Meditation is a key thing. Most times I do this breathing thing where I take in like deep breath and just focus on like my breath. You can do breathing, meditation, whatever. Praying too is a very important thing for self care. Praying, it could be praying, it could be listening to a podcast, whatever the podcast might be. It could be a seminar podcast. It could be it could be listening to worship songs too. It could be also spending time with loved ones, maybe talking to that family member or friend, that kind of a thing. This could be like ways of self care to help you also avoid. But it could also be going through therapy. Yeah, you could find yourself therapy to do and take through to also help you. And one very fun thing that happened to me in the past few weeks, and I've been able to like have conversations with like you know other designers about like their work, just to help with some form of clarity. And we ended up calling it like design therapy session. It was actually very fun because I was able to help bring clarity, because sometimes you need somebody to talk to, sometimes you actually need to go through real therapy, and it would help building that level of self-care and burnout, avoiding burnout and the rest. Other interesting things that I do personally for help with my self-care is I speak right. There's a common thing, and it cuts across, even the Bible, and even a common phenomenon that we come to know is that what you say is what literally comes back. Like in real sense, this is not me being religious or being superstitious and the rest. Things you tailor yourself saying and getting yourself involved saying is what would literally push into things that becomes reality to you. And I understand that this might not make sense in the sense of, well, what does this make sense with learning, resources, material productivity? But the truth is, if you keep using your own words to say things that will not bring you any form of benefit, will not give you any sense of help or growth, or put you in a position where you can even be disciplined, there's no how everything I've said here will make sense. Or even if you do it, it will for some reason not work out. You get so. And with the form of using your words to say things that are actually useful to you, it could be very simple things. Maybe you could be struggling with staying disciplined, or you could be struggling with staying consistent. Beginning to tell yourself that I am consistent, I am disciplined, I will see through whatever I'm going through, is a way to prime your mind that, oh, I'm a consistent person. And anytime you find yourself not being consistent, because you say it over and over to yourself, somehow your subconscious will pick up on it and kind of call it to your attention. Oh, you're doing something that is not aligned with what you've been saying. And this is how I've been able to always catch myself whenever I'm distracting myself or I'm doing something that I'm not supposed to do that's affecting my productivity. Because over time, I've got used to waking up in the morning and telling myself that, I'm good at what I do, I'm productive, I'm effective, I am not distracted today. Whenever I'm finding myself distracted, for some reason, my subconscious mind will just prompt me that I'm doing something that has not been aligned with what I have been saying over time. And this is how I actually catch myself. And it could be a trick you could do. The more you do it, the more you'll become accustomed to it, and the more aware you'll be around your surroundings, because it's very, very, very important. It might not be directly tied to the topic of today, but it is tied to it in one way or the other. And signs of burnout you want to pay attention to would be always getting tired all the time, experiencing headaches, stomach aches. Stomach aches can be food though, so you want to probably get something to eat. You get headaches could be you've not rested well enough. So hydrating yourself, drinking a lot of water, very important. So as you do all this, so because all what you learn will not make sense if um you are not really taking care of yourself. Yes, because imagine going on a 30-day challenge and you fall sick after 10 days and your sickness lasts for 2 weeks. Challenge has spoiled now. You now have to start from beginning again, and everything that you've learned has gone down the drain. So you don't want to find yourself in a situation like that. And before I talk about celebrating success, yeah, I want to do like a real time analogy, or rather not analogy, example of how I'm able to use all this for myself. So, example for myself now is just like some of you, you might be in a situation where you have a lot of things you want to learn. What I did was I started off by listing out everything I want to do, and the list is the design course I have that I want to improve my product thinking skill set, so I can help design even more and more impressive SaaS product. I in case you don't know, I started off as a graphic designer, and I got involved in brand strategy in my career at some point, but I've dropped it, and I found out that okay, the skill set that it seems like I'm forgetting, and I want to bring it back. So there's branding and brand strategy that I want to bring back into my skill set. There's Webflow I want to learn. There was something again too. I think I was talking with Eugene, and it kind of caught my attention, which is UX auditing. So these four things, the things like I want to do, but now how do I actually go about it? Because now there are four different things. Did they tie into what I want to do? The first one really ties into what I want to do, really, which is the product thinking skill set. Webflow is more like a flex, and because I'll be able to understand how developers work and build simple landing pages for myself. That's why I want to do that. Branding, the reason I want to even do kind of pick up that skill back again is because I want to be able to add in more creative flair into building product, because with building product a lot of the times I've been losing my idea of actually building brand. I understand how to work with it and fit into product, but now I'm losing that touch of building it from scratch by myself. So that's why I want to pick it up, so I do not fully forget. Then the last one is I don't think I forgot what I said. Can't remember. I really can't remember what was the fourth thing I said. Does anybody remember what the fourth thing I said? If you put it on the chat, I would really like that, because I can't remember the fourth thing I said. But I just remember one other thing that I didn't add to the list, which makes it 5, is the new Figma's updates and processes that they release. I want to learn how to use them in my workflow. So with all this, yeah, how do I go about it? So I made a prioritization list of the first things, and okay, auditing. Oh yeah, thanks, auditing. So with auditing, so I made a prioritization list of the things I need to learn and how it ties into what I want to do. So my prioritization list is, the first one is product thinking, which is the course that I already have, but I've not started it. The second thing is going to be the Figma, learning how to use the new Figma updates with my workflow to improve my workflow. The third thing will be the branding. Why I put the third thing in branding is because I can easily pick up on it because it's a skill I already know. And the other things will be the UX auditing and Webflow. Now, that's how my priority list is from top to bottom. But now I'm only picking the first 3 things, and I'm keeping the last 2 things for another time. So until I'm done with those 3 things, I can pick up those 2 things. And how I'm going to work with those 3 things? Why I'm picking 3 things? Because the first 2 is highest priority, and they'll take more of my time. The last one is branding. I can easily breeze through it because it's a skill I already know. I just need to revise on it. That's why it's there. If not, I'll just focus on the 2. And those three, how I decided to want to do it is I want to do them. I want to involve them in my daily tasks. So in all I'm doing, I'm giving. Okay, no, the course is going to go for my weekend. I'm going to spend in every weekend 1 to 3 hours every weekend for only on that course. The other two things, which is Figma and branding, I'm involving them in my week, in my 5-day week work process, which is I'm giving each of them 30 minutes to 1 hour every day. So every day, 30 minutes I spend just watching YouTube videos on branding. Every day, 30 minutes I just spend watching this Figma, how to use them. And because I'm working during the week, I can use them during the week. So that's how I'm literally working around it. And it's that simple. Like it's not anything as difficult as you could think. But you can see how I've been able to involve knowing my aim, my reasoning, prioritization. I already know my energy level, so I know where to fix and that works for me. And literally just doing and practicing. Once I'm done with those, I can pick up where I flew and pick up the other skill set I said I want to do. Yeah, so with that said, I feel like I wanted to give that so they have like a really visual idea on how I'm going to do my thing, and you could also use something like that too for yourself. But I'll talk about celebrating success. With all this said, you want to be able to at least applaud yourself, give yourself that accolade for being consistent, being disciplined, following through. And sometimes you could also tie most of these things with a reward. Or let's say this week, if I hit this milestone, I'll reward myself with XYZ. I'll reward myself with maybe more anime binging time, reward myself with buying myself gift, or whatever the case might be, maybe spending more time with a loved one or family member. You could also tie this down. And something I also learned from Eugene is you could also have a jar of gratitude, maybe every day, things you're grateful for, things you're excited for. Every week, you could write it down and put it in there. And at the end of the month, you could look at it. Or whenever you're feeling down, demotivated, because there's no how much demotivation will come into play. Sometimes it look like this thing you're learning is never making sense. You want to go back there and look at this your successes, this your wins, this your little wins, and by the time you look at all this, you realize that if I've gone through this before, I will be able to like go through this, new phase or obstacle and whatever the case might be. But yeah, so with that said,
Mm.
um, I'll conclude by saying by identifying the right resources, for a given task, a skill period or a time period, you want to prioritize your time effectively. You want to organize these resources. You want to maximize your energy levels. Eliminating distraction and staying focused is very, very key to allow everything I said make sense. They want to collaborate too. Collaboration will happen in different ways. The more you do collaboration, the better you get used to communicating with other people and working with other people. Then you also want to infuse rest. Do not burn yourself on both candles. You would really destroy your whole learning process, and even kind of like the level of value you can give as a skilled worker. And so yeah, you also want to understand that everything is not going to happen perfectly first time. You want to have the ability to adapt. You want to have the ability to learn from your failures. Failures are not setbacks, they're like stepping stones you want to use to move on. You also want to pray about these things. I feel like I cannot do anything without involving God in it. Is an important factor for me. You get, so you want to involve a form of sense of motivation for yourself, whatever the case might be. It could be somebody you admire, you look up to. So whenever I feel demotivated, just go to their profile and just get pressured and go back to work and have ginger and go back. You get, sometimes when I feel very demotivated, I go to LinkedIn and I look at people's profiles and I'm like, what am I doing in my life? And I go back to work. You get, so whatever form you can use to kick yourself back up whenever you feel don't cause it to happen, you can do it. And by taking rest, you would always very feel energized to go again and again and again and again. But yeah, so that is about it. And you can connect with me. So that is pretty much all I have to share with you guys. And thank you. You can connect me on LinkedIn, um, Ogaga John, on Twitter, John Ogaga 4, or literally Boring Designer. And we all know threads now, so you can also connect with me there on the Gaga John. So I feel like anywhere you search Gaga John or John Ogaga, you find something about me there. You get So now that is it about me. I rather it about the session, and I think I'll be able to take questions now, if that's fine, Joanne.
Yes, it's fine. Thank you so much, Ogaga. It was
Welcome.
really packed with lots of information. Abolade, do you have a question? You're raising your hand up. You can unmute yourself. Okay. If anyone has a question, please raise your hand and John will answer. Thank you so much, John. This was a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome, Joanne. Um,
Okay. Okay, please go ahead, Isaac. You can unmute yourself.
Good evening.
yeah, good evening.
Can you?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. So thank you very much for this insightful session. Like it's way more than just learning the skill itself. It's more of into like the life of design. Like what's the life itself. Thank you.
Mhm.
So the question I want to ask is this: how do you tend to manage your learning process and as well your working um, process? Do you have a specific period where you have like, okay, this is learning and I don't get to work? Like, how do you differentiate between working with clients and also ensuring that you are keeping up to date with the industry and all? Like, I don't know if you get the question.
Yeah, I think I understand your question, and if I'm really honest, I'm going straight to the point. It's hard. Working and having to want to learn at the same time and not staying outdated. But this is where you want to be really, really committed and disciplined to doing. But for me personally, I'm big on setting like a focus time on doing certain things. So there are these 5 days in a week, right? I could decide to work on projects and work or whatever the case might be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday dedicate the entire 8 hours of my day to only learning. But for you to do that, you want to make sure that what you're supposed to do on Wednesday, you've squeezed it into doing it on Monday and Tuesday. So if it means working 10, excuse me, if it means working 10, 12 hours Monday, Tuesday, just to get the entire task you're supposed to do on Wednesday done in Monday and Tuesday, do it. So on Wednesday, you can maybe give updates and send updates to whoever you're working with and really focus on learning and doing what you're doing. Um, or it could be moving your learning periods to weekends. You get maybe every Friday, I'm going to dedicate 4 hours and learning. That's just like, for me, what I do personally is before I start working, I set 30 minutes for reading a book, 30 minutes for reading articles. I don't care how many articles I read within 30 minutes. It could be 7, 10 articles. I'll read everything within like 30 minutes. I could take breaks within 30 minutes, sharp, but once I'm done, I move into my day and I do that daily. So help keep me updated. Then whenever I'm scrolling on social media and I see something I like and I bookmark it, if it is something tailored to the kind of skill set I want to learn, I move it into my prioritization list, like I told you guys, like Trello or something. If it is not, I just bookmark it and keep it there. Yeah. If the ones that have been put in my prioritization list, I give myself that weekend or rather that week to make sure that I go through those things and I move on to the next week like that. You sometimes you can forget things, it's fine, but as long as you have like a list of these things that is important to you, you can always reference it. So I hope that made sense to your
Yeah, sure, sure. Yeah.
okay. Thank you. I think I have a question on the chat section.
Uh,
Question is, how easy is it setting these goals and achieving them? It's not easy, does it? If that what you're asking, one could do. I'm sorry, one could do everything you advise and still find it hard to. Yeah, I mean, in all I said, I didn't say it's going to be easy. Please, let me really say that clear. In everything I've said and I talked about, it does not guarantee that it's going to be easy. In fact, it even probably even makes it harder, which is the truth. But this is where your own self determination comes into play. because the honest truth is nothing good comes easy. So if you are not willing to go that extra mile, to take that extra commitment into achieving these goals, then I don't I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say to you or help you with. You get, so you have to want to make that extra step. Also, you want to make sure that the goals you're also setting is not unrealistic goals. You have to make sure you're setting goals that make sense or goals that are actually achievable or realistic. So there's one thing for you to have a goal and another thing for you to have to achieve it. So a quick thing that might help you, Rosalind, is the goal that you have. Ask yourself very honest question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how achievable is this for me in this my time, space, and vision right now? If it is below 5, ask yourself, how can I tone down this goal to like an MVP level, which means the smaller stage of it, like a lower version that I can actually achieve. Because to move from point A to point B, you have to start making little steps to get there. So what little step can I do that gets me to a point, and when I reach there, okay, I can now move into the next one. You get that kind of a thing. So you want to, if it is 5 and above, then yes, it's probably want to work on your determination, your consistency, and also probably get help from talking to other people and the rest. We have ADP lists. You can reach out to people on Twitter. You can also even send me DMs too as well to help with clarity on what's on, because sometimes that might just be all you need. I'll take the questions from people raising hand
Oh,
now. I can see Fola.
good evening, sir.
Evening, Fola.
Hi, my battery is actually going down, so I just need to ask this question before it go
Okay.
off.
Yeah, makes sense.
You talked about collaboration the other time.
Mm-hmm.
There was something you talked about collaboration the other time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was something I read on Twitter some time ago, which prompted me to take to some step. The person was talking about collaboration, as you have said, but the guy talked about the challenges of this collaboration by whereby when you focus on particular thing and others that are collaborating with you are not really working with you in that goal. So this is what I'm actually facing presently. I collaborated with upcoming designers. We are both in the same level. Okay, let us design a case study whereby we design and develop it as well. But this in this point I am now, they are not really working in line with what I want. And I'm really ready to work. I had to turn myself to the team leader. I keep on dropping message on the group like that. A lot of things we are still on the research stage. So this has been a challenge for me. I don't even know how to overcome it. I don't even know how to overcome it. So I don't know what I can do. Maybe they are not viewing it in the same way I'm viewing the stuff.
Okay. So to really answer you straight to the point, Fola, is you probably want to involve screening in the kind of collaboration you do. So I understand collaboration is collaboration, but you want to first understand who you're collaborating before you start collaborating. So you probably want to involve screening individuals that are interested in collaborating with you. So let's say you put the word out there you want to collaborate with XYZ skill sets to achieve XYZ. People might indicate you want to have a conversation with these people that indicate you want to understand their motive, their goals, their whatever the case might be. And if you want to make sure it tallies with you, it matches your energy level before you can, okay, I'm choosing this person, I'm choosing this person. You don't want to work with anybody that comes to your doorstep. You want to make sure that they are meeting the energy, they're meeting the same similar goals and what's not that you're aiming for. That will make your job easier. Then the fact, and another also thing I wanted to just point out to you is that whatever the case might be, you want to always make sure that you take up that position to be the leading person you get. So whether the person is giving you the right energy and work ethic that you want to make sure that you are still making sure you're leading the project, because it's also like a subtle skill to build on the side. But I feel like with screening, people you want to collaborate with would help you know that, okay, yeah, this person fits the kind of person I want to work with. And it doesn't have to be too many. Just 1 or 2 people is fine. 3 people, okay, no, that's fine. And you can let them know that, this is really important to you. Let them know how important it is to you. Let them know how useful it would be, if you guys really pull this off. And you can also let them know that there's really nothing wrong with being transparent. You can also let them know that if there's any point where this is not going as we agree on, I will be forced to not have to collaborate with you again. And there's really nothing wrong in that. You get, so they are aware of the consequences if they don't put their own weight. That you stop work collaborating with them and you move on to another candidate or another person who's willing to actually work. That's fine. Okay. So I hope that makes sense to you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I want to answer Gideon's question. So he says, do I have a system that helps me me daily to achieve most of the things I talked about? Maybe remind me, journal or track. Well, I set alarms, basically. That's kind of like my only reminder, major reminder. I set alarms for these things. I also have like I use my work body journal to document the things I need to achieve that day. I first of all document everything I need to do for the week, and I spread them into the days that I have during the week. I have my reminder set me times for me to journal, and I'm lazy to write. So I found a new way to journal, which is by doing voice notes. So I send voice note to myself on WhatsApp, or I created a whole group chat for myself, just me, and I called it journaling. And I answered these questions that I told you guys you can answer for your journaling in voice chats. And at the end of the week, I listen to them and see patterns and areas I need to improve. So I hope that answers your number one question. Your number two, oh, 1A. Wow. Which have you tried to probably and didn't work out for you? I don't think I understand your 1A because everything sometimes used to work out, but I used to go back and do it again. I'm stubborn like that. I do it till it becomes part of me, or I do it till it works. So that's it. Trying is not good enough. I do it till it works. Do you journal physically? Well, when I did it the first time, I journaled physically, or rather pen and paper. But now I do voice chats to myself. Also, which have you tried that probably didn't work out for you? I don't think I answered that question. I don't really understand the context to it. But yeah, I feel like I've answered the questions I'm seeing right now. I don't know if anybody has one last question or somebody has a question that I missed or something. You can call it to my attention. Thank you. And Gideon, I hope that makes sense to you, like the responses I gave you. Yeah, okay. You're welcome, Gideon.
Thank you so much, Ogaga. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. Does anybody have one last question? One final
I think
question?
I'll rather have him, Manuel ask his question.
All right, Manuel, please go
Okay,
ahead.
yeah, boss.
Alpha.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, real quick, mine is more like alapire. But so, what do you do in scenarios whereby you said something about priority, right? What do you do in scenarios whereby your priorities are then like choking you in the sense where it's becoming like, let me just say my own problem. Say I know they sleep.
Mm.
Yeah, so when it comes to those points, then like what do you do to fix that? Yeah.
Well, if I get to the point where I need to sleep again, is I feel like what happens is that to myself it just tells me that this I'm doing a lot of things at the same time. It tells me that I'm doing too much at the same time, and probably some of those things that I'm doing does not make sense, or I'm never supposed to be doing it. I'm burning myself on both candles because you not sleeping means you're burning yourself on both candles. So what I do is I will sit down maybe in the weekend or when I have time, cap and squeeze time. I'll force the time and I write down a list of everything that I have been involved in, either for the period of time when I notice that I've been barely sleeping. I'll write down everything in no particular order. And once I've written every single thing down, like every single thing that I've been doing, if I've been going to the gym or not going to the gym, if I'm going to a particular new gym, I'll write it. It might not be work that may be causing your issue. It might be something outside work that may cause you. So I write down literally everything that I find myself doing. And once I've done that, I identify the ones that are work and I identify the ones that are not work. Then once I've done that, I will now identify the ones that are priority for me and work and the ones that are priority for me are non-work. For example, if let's say non-work thing is me spending too much time in the gym or going to the gym late, I might identify that okay, I go to the gym late. So by the time I go to the gym late and I'm back, I start my day late and I'm doing two more things, and that's why I'm not able to sleep properly. I'll now know that I need to reduce the number of time I spend at the gym, or go to the gym earlier and reduce the number of things that I'm doing during my day. so that I can have time to complete them and move on to the next day and sleep on time. So I want to identify the things that are really, really, really important, like top tier important to you. Identify the things that are not so top tier, that are mid level, and the ones that are not so all that, but you are still doing. Maybe you don't have a choice than to do them. You can actually delegate the task. You can give somebody else. You could find somebody who is doing what you're doing and has time on their hands to help and assist. You can make out an open call. You can collaborate with somebody to help you out with that. You have to, if it is the case where you can forgo it for good, put a pause on it. When you've reduced tax and you can come back to it again. Get if it's something that's outside of work, you want to maybe stop doing because it's an obstacle. You want to stop doing it. You want to reduce the amount of time you do it or how you do it, that kind of thing. But everything will first come from you sitting down and listing things out and prioritizing each particular category as it goes. I'm beginning to identify the things that you want to keep doing, the things you want to delegate, the things you want to pause or stop doing, and the things you want to either do faster or quicker or shorter. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much.
No more, you know. So yes, I think I'm done, Joan.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ogaga, and thank you, everyone. We've learned so much today, and I just want to say, on behalf of Design with You, a big, very big thank you once again. And yeah, good night, guys.
Okay, thank you, Joan. Thank you so much. Thank you, you guys for having me and actually listening to me. I hope all that work you guys will make sense and you can actually practically use them. Angela, where is Angela? Raising up her hand. Anyways, I wanted to say something, but real quick is that my team is always very actively available, so you can always shoot me a DM if you have questions, whatever the case might be. I will try to make myself available for conversations and what's not. And yeah, till we meet again and see you again. Good night, everyone. Thank you again, Joanne. Thank you, Design with EU.
Good night, everyone.